This is Blind Like Me.
Hello, everyone.
Interviews, information, and reviews related to living with a vision disability. Your host is Tim Black. Tim has been visually impaired since birth. He's been in radio for 30 years and also hosts the podcast Inside Today's Country. Tim has never let his lack of vision stand in his way.
Well, it's always fun when we get a chance to talk to somebody new with an app. And we welcome Paul from Aira. And I stumbled across this app last week when we were chatting with Dale Nolan, who has a daughter who is totally blind. And he says, "Have you heard about Aira?" And I went, "No." So we got your information. We searched the web, and I got hold of Paul. Welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Hey, Tim, thanks so much. I am so excited to be able to talk with you. It's always fun to find somebody new to Aira so that we can talk about it afresh.
Well, there you go. And now let's start from the beginning, because when we were starting this conversation, you guys had glasses. So let's start at the beginning and kind of go through the process of how this all happened.
I would love to do that. Aira is about 5 years old, and it started very much as a company whose founder at the time had learned about Google Glass, had begun to experiment with it a little bit, and had also been working with a blind friend remotely on some stuff. And he thought, let's put these things together. We've got this great effort that Google's behind to introduce Google Glass, which was a pair of glasses you wear with a camera and some other technology. And what if I sent the glasses to my blind friend and I could then see through his camera? And from that concept, the Aira technology was born. So I'll just quickly make sure everybody knows. We'll do a level set, make sure everybody knows what it is. So it is an app, as you said.
Yep.
And we've moved our thinking a little bit. So we've moved away from glasses and said, you know what? Everybody's got a smartphone who's fortunate enough to have one. I recognize some people don't have them. But everyone who has a smartphone, they've got a camera right there in their hand. It's a beautiful camera, whether it's Android or iPhone. And they've got that ready to go. So what if we just said, let's use the smartphone? And so we have the app developed, and you can download the app for free. It's AIRA. Probably spell that a couple times. Aira, AIRA. It's in Play Store and the App Store. And you can download that, and then from your phone, you operate the Aira service. So it's an app. But what the app really is a connection point to the really awesome part of Aira, which is our agents. So you connect to our agents. If you've ever used FaceTime, it's a little bit kind of that concept of using your camera to connect to someone who is sighted in this case. But unlike maybe FaceTime with your friends or family, these are agents who actually are trained and well experienced in working with people who are blind. So once you're connected, they're looking through your camera, and from that point forward, anything that you need to know about that's visually happening. It could be the color of clothing. It could be something your dog is doing. It could be important documents you want to read.
Right. It
could be recipes. You name it. What if it's something that's visual and it's been bugging you or is not accessible? You can connect with Aira, and through your smartphone camera have that access right there.
Wow, what an amazing piece of technology.
It is amazing technology, but I often want to say that what's really amazing about Aira is what's behind it, right? So, doing the app, having a camera, connecting, that's great. We're leveraging all the great work that Apple and Google and Samsung and others have done, right, to make these phones with big cameras. But what's really special is the training and the effort we go to with our agents. And they are paid, by the way. So we very much see them as if you will, a trained professional support system that's available to people who are blind or visually impaired. And so that's one. And then the second thing is, of course, the work we do on the platform itself to make sure that when you connect to an agent, there's quality video coming through, and of course, good audio. And of course, the video is one way. It goes from you to the agent.
Right.
And then the audio is two-way, because you got to be talking to the agent about information. I should say, by the way, just in case anyone asks this question, you can also do this via text. So if you can't talk, if you're in a situation where you can't talk, or maybe you have a speech impairment and you're
Mhm.
not able to talk,
Mhm.
you can communicate with agents via text and they with you. So if you're using a braille display, even
Oh, wow.
you could have that hooked in and then be using your phone as the camera.
Let's talk a little bit about the training, because there are other apps that are out there that kind of, are on the same kind of platform as Aira. But obviously, you guys are trained to work with people. So let's go through that training aspect of it, where instead of I'm just connecting with anybody, I'm actually connecting with a trained person. So tell me a little bit about your training, how that works, and what they go through.
So what we have done is work with our agents. So first of all, it's not easy to become an Aira agent. You have to pass a test. You have to demonstrate that you've got good customer service skills. You also have to have good technology skills because you're looking at video. You have to be able to use maps, and of course, also be often working on your computer, looking up information, which we'll get to in a second. So there's that whole component of who gets to be an agent, and it's not easy.
Okay.
Once you pass that test, we then have developed a training course, and it runs the gamut from sort of the basics of blindness and vision loss, understanding a little bit about conditions, learning a bit about what we sometimes refer to as orientation and mobility. I mean, that's the professional term, of course, but just the kinds of techniques that people who are blind use, whether they're dog guide users or cane users. And that's also part of the training, is understanding there are distinctions. And of course, there are people who use low vision techniques. And so understanding some of that. And then a little bit of training around how to describe, and so that all of our agents have at least a rudimentary understanding of how to describe objects, people, things. And of course, finally, some good sort of do's and don'ts. Obvious ones like the customer's in charge. So if a blind person connects to an agent with Aira,
Right.
the agent is going to ask, well, what would you like to do? It's funny, I've forgotten exactly what the answer phrase is when they answer. But the point is, right from the start, it's really up to the individual, the blind person who makes the call. What is it you want? What kind of information can the person? So you really, you want to know, you want to be able to have a sense of what kind of work you'd like this agent to assist you with, what kind of information. And then, of course, the agents are taught to, as our founder like to say, think like a pair of eyes, not like a brain.
Right.
So what you're doing is providing information as you see it, not interpreting, not commenting on it, but giving that to the blind person. And then, of course, trying to be objective about the information. So you might not, you might tell people the colors of clothing, but then it's really up to the individual to decide, are those colors they like or don't like.
Right.
Frankly, sometimes our agents get asked, hey, does this work? Does this match? And the agent can simply indicate, that is those colors do commonly go together,
Right.
or those colors do not. And maybe
you're not getting fashion information then. Basically,
that's correct.
There you go. You're not walking through the mall going, hey, I like this outfit or whatever. So that works.
Yeah. That said, our agents come from a variety of backgrounds and interests, and they have a variety of ages, and so they do have some things they know, and sometimes you can get a little bit of extra benefit. We've had agents who are makeup stylists, for example, and it's always cool when you come across somebody with a skill, or another one who was an architecture student that I happened to talk to, and I was visiting a memorial, and it was really cool because she actually could bring a little bit of extra knowledge. That's a nice extra benefit of Aira. But of course, all of our agents are trained to do great basic provide information and provide description.
Now let's talk a little bit about privacy, because if a blind person connects to Aira, that's obviously a worry in 2020 is privacy and so forth. How do you get around that?
Well, we have a privacy policy, and people, of course, are welcome to go and view that. And I should, by the way, right now say the website is aira.io. So it's a little different than what you're used to. It's very techy. The website's very friendly, but the URL is a little techie, aira.io. One of the things that we do make clear is that your information, of course, is private. We do not provide it to anyone. We don't sell it. It's not used for any purposes beyond the agent providing you with information. The agent can take pictures on your behalf, which is one of the cool things that Aira can do. So, of course, that's really helpful to the agent if they need some information to be able to read something and they need to zoom in on it or improve the contrast. That's why we developed it. But what a lot of people like is to have pictures taken and post on their Facebook or elsewhere, just like sighted people do. And so the Aira agent can help you line up that picture and get a good picture and then share it with you. But that's the only time information is kind of provided outside of Aira, and that's of course provided to the individual, and it's up to them to decide what they want to do with it.
Isn't that wild?
That's I'll tell you what, that's actually became one of the really, really, really exciting features that people loved when they found out, because some blind people take great selfies and pictures. I'm not one of them, and so I like having an Aira agent who can help make my pictures look a little better.
So your Facebook and your Instagram have become so much better then.
Well, they would if I used them, but when I share with friends, at least it's quality.
That's good to know, because sometimes it's really hard to get yourself into the center of the frame when you can't see the center of the frame, right?
It's very true. I had a great time not too long ago. I was at an event with Senator Cory Booker, who's a senator from New Jersey here, ran for president, some might remember, and just a wonderful guy. And I walked up to him at the end of the event. I said, really would love to take a picture and share with my daughter, who's a big fan of yours. And somebody was trying to help me adjust the phone. I said, no, I've got Aira on. They're going to get it in the right frame.
Isn't that cool?
So that was a nice.
Now let's talk about a little bit about, now you were talking about, people using, or your agents using maps and looking up information on the computer. Walk me through that a little bit.
Yeah. So Aira has lots of capabilities, right? And a lot of people, when we first launched, we talked a lot about navigation. So in many ways, people still think of Aira as this great navigation tool. And we're actually available for free in a lot of airports. You and I were talking at the outset about Winnipeg, and we're in the Winnipeg airport. We're in Toronto and Vancouver as well, I think.
Okay.
And many U.S. airports as well. And when I say for free, that means you can, with your app on your phone, as soon as you bring it up, you'll get a notice that says you're in an Aira access location, and you can use Aira for free in that location because that location has paid for it. So the airport has paid for it. And the reason they do it is to get back to your question, which is there are many places that are extraordinarily complex. And for some individuals who are blind, can be a little frightening to get around and move around and feel comfortable in, and airports are one of them. And so we, all of us have horror stories, or have heard horror stories from our friends about being forgotten in an airport, missing a flight because the gate changed and nobody told you. Maybe you wanted to go up and get some food, and there wasn't really someone around to ask for help doing that, or you didn't feel comfortable, whatever. You can use Aira for any of those things. So you can bring it up. So the agent may try to find a map if there's one available,
right? So
that they can kind of get a bird's eye view of, well, how many things are available here in the terminal? What kind of shops? And how close are you in terms of what gate you're at?
Right.
And that works as well out in the world. So if you're moving around on streets, the agent can be looking at a street view or some other map, as well as looking at your GPS, which they have on their screen, and kind of merging those things together. And I should say, because I talked about Aira being available for free at airports, and it's also free at places that people are excited about, like Target. So if you go to a Target store, you can use Aira for free there.
Okay.
That's true in the U.S. I don't.
We don't have Target in Canada anymore.
I was going to say, I don't know whether Target's international yet. But I
Target was in Canada, and then they said bye-bye.
Oh my goodness! You know what? I knew that. I did hear that.
Yeah, it was a big kerfuffle for sure.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
So if you're in the U.S. listening and you have a Target nearby, you can go shop there for free. Well, the shopping isn't free, but you can move around the Target for free. So Aira, there's a couple of ways to use Aira. So of course, there's these free locations. So you can put the
Yeah.
app on your phone. That's free. You can use it in airports, Targets, etc. That's free.
Uh-huh.
But if you have other uses that you want to use, you can. Aira has a various levels of pay for service.
Okay.
So it starts at $29 a month for 30 minutes and $99 a month for 120 minutes. And I think there's one more plan at $199 a month for 300 minutes.
Okay.
And so that's for people who know, they're going to have a set of uses where they need Aira at home or at work where it's not free, it's not covered.
Right.
But we also have a 5-minute call that's always free. And you can do as many of those as you need to.
Okay.
Now, we don't want you to string 6 or 7 or 10 5-minute calls in a row, game the system, as it were. But you can, if you need to do a couple, that's okay.
Yeah.
So
okay.
a lot of times, people just want to sort their mail. Well, that's probably a 5-minute task unless you get a lot of junk. Or you want to check the recipe or the instructions on a box of food. That's easily a 5-minute task.
Okay.
I often use Aira, honestly, to help me pick up after my dog. And if she's efficient about her duty, that's a 5-minute task. So, I mean, there's a lot of wonderful things you can do. Checking prescriptions. A lot of people do that too. You want to make sure you're taking the right pills and the right dosage level. That's a 5-minute task. So all of those are free. And then if you know you need more, that's you can subscribe to Aira in the US or Canada, by the way, and Australia and New Zealand. And the other thing I would say is that if workplaces, if you want to work with your employer, maybe to cover Aira, you're saying, I need some sighted assistance. It's a bother to go find somebody to ask. I don't need it a lot, but occasionally I do. Or maybe you even have a reader, but that's not working out that well. Aira might be a perfect solution for accessing documents, computer screens, etc. And one thing I want to add here, if you're able to do it, is Aira uses we employ TeamViewer. Now that's a remote access program for computers. A lot of tech support uses that. Well, we use TeamViewer in somewhat the same way. You connect to your Aira agent, you bring up TeamViewer on your computer, so you download it and bring it up. Give your agent your account and password, user ID and password, and from that point forward, the agent can work your computer for you. So if you're running into trouble on a website, the agent can just take over and get you through that. If you're trying to deal with some documents that maybe a PDF that wasn't done properly and you want to be able to read it, the agent can take over your screen and actually read that for you. Now they have to get through your firewalls.
Yeah, I was about to say there's the many levels of firewalls and restrictions and stuff like that.
But I think TeamViewer is one of the hidden gems of Aira. So if you can make use of it, for example, I use it all the time to make PowerPoints because I don't like making PowerPoints. It's just it's not something I'm good at. And even if I were, I don't know that I probably wouldn't feel comfortable knowing that I had the images lined up properly. Great use for an Aira agent to just visually check that kind of stuff and make sure your fonts and images and stuff look consistent.
Now, does Aira come in different languages?
No. Aira is English only at this point. We certainly have talked about and know at some point we do want to offer that, but we want to be able to offer, just as we do in English, a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 365-day-a-year service, which is what we do offer now.
It must be an amazing feeling for those who are visually impaired and blind. It's a sense of security and a sense of, being able to go independently and knowing that Aira is in your pocket and you're able to get to and from or do whatever you need to do. You're at a restaurant, but what I'm feeling is the sense of security is really what it is.
It's that for sure, and sometimes it's the sense of joy or even serendipity, as I like to say. I'm one of those people that when I'm walking around in even whether it's a familiar neighborhood or a new community, I like to know what's around me, especially if I'm in a downtown shopping and business district. And I love when I can bring up Aira and just have an agent kind of describe, you're walking by X store or you're walking by X restaurant. Oh, let's stop and take a look at the menu board, see what's there.
Right.
Maybe that'll be interesting now or later. And even in a familiar neighborhood, most of us who are blind will find things we didn't know were there, because why would we? Unless we were looking for them or somebody had told us, or we specifically had looked it up. And so I love those kinds of things. And the same with moving through a store. I often tell store owners that, here's an advantage of Aira. Blind customers don't know about those things you spend all the money on to put on your end caps, at the end of the shelves, the sales items, or the things you want to move as a store. And we might be impulsive shoppers like everybody else, but we don't know they're there. And so Aira is a great way to say, oh, what am I walking by here?
My wife keeps me away from those. That's the...
Yeah, well, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
That's absolutely amazing. Paul, this is what a great piece of technology to help out the blind and visually impaired. I think it's an amazing thing that you guys have come up with. And wow, I mean, the experiences that you've told us so far just blow my mind. I didn't even know it was available in airports and so forth, and I think that is absolutely amazing.
I hope everyone will download AIRA, put it on your phones, and I would say during this time of COVID shutdown, two things I want to make sure people know about. One is for college students who have suddenly had to shift perhaps more into distant learning, remote learning than they were, and maybe for some it's totally new. Aira has extended our free offer, right, for college students, which is something we had been making available on a scholarship basis. And we've extended that to any post-secondary student who's kind of in that mode right now, is struggling with free. The other thing we've done is for parents, blind parents of children, obviously the children. Aira, we've offered a digital program if you're trying to help your child with homework, and maybe you're struggling with some of the technology that they need to use for school, the distance technology, as a blind person, a blind parent. We offer a digital package for that. And you can find out about any of these things, first of all, at aira.io, or sending an email to support, SUPPORT, at aira.io. Mention students or digital access, or if you just want to find out about a plan, going to the web or sending a note to support will help. We'll get you all set.
What's next for Aira?
So one of the things that I think we would all like to see, and honestly, it's become even more important during the experience that we're all having in COVID being shut down, is more online access. So it is possible for a website to have Aira available, so that when you're on the web, you could bring up Aira directly for assistance. But we haven't had a lot of success getting there yet. And we do hope that we'll be able to start convincing, whether it's shopping or frankly, museums, which are doing a lot of stuff online now because you can't go. And I think that's going to end up being something that people will appreciate. So it'll be there for a while. I'm hoping we can start to have more availability for people to use Aira, and that and easier to find, so that it's obvious either on the web or in your Aira app that you can use Aira in those environments. The other thing that we need to do is for people who do want a hands-free solution, which is why we had glasses to start with. We need to figure out how we can work with leveraging companies that are doing cameras. So a lot of people were excited about Bose glasses, which do not have camera, but have great audio and also have some other built-in sensors that could be valuable for Aira. So if we could get something like that with a camera, that becomes a really nice add-on for somebody who wants hands-free. And of course, the head-high camera is great for our agents to be able to see around you in the world.
Excellent. Paul, thanks very much for spending some time with us. I encourage everybody to go and check this all out. Again, your website is?
AIRA.io.
And of course, you can find it also in your Google Play Store, in your Apple Play Store as well. All the best to you, Paul. Thanks very much for chatting with us about Aira.
Thank you, Tim. All the best to you too and your listeners.
Thanks for listening to Blind Like Me. If you have a comment or suggestion about future casts, drop us an email to blindlikeme@outlook.com. Blind Like Me is a TimBlackOnAir.com production.